Welcome back to another episode of the Women's Health Community Podcast. I am so happy that you're here with us and ready to listen to another episode. As you can tell by the title of this episode, we are talking about all things procrastination, the cost of procrastination, and what is it really costing you and how is it really keeping you stuck. However, we have a guest with us today. She has been on the podcast before, so welcoming Amy.
Hello, thank you for having me again.
I actually didn't plan the 3 questions for you because you've already answered them.
Okay.
So maybe just give us one fun thing that you did on the weekend. It's Monday as we're recording. What's one thing that you did on the weekend?
Oh, one fun thing I did on the weekend was went out for dinner with Alex and had a couple of drinks.
Love that. I put on my story on Friday. Make sure you have a bev for me. You definitely had a bev for me.
Definitely had a bev. It was much needed after a big couple of weeks.
Yeah, I agree. Love that for you. Me? I'm in preps. There were no bevs for me. But anyway.
I think we actually called you and we were like,
come out, let's go. I'm like, guys, I'm at home. It's 7 o'clock. I'm in my pajamas. I'm ready for bed in an hour. Like, not happening. Sorry, love you both, but
I recall Alex saying to you, you can put prep on hold just for one night. And I punched him. I was like, that's not how this works.
That is not how this works. But so today we're talking about all things procrastination, motivation. As coaches, we coach very similar demographics. I feel like it's a conversation I assume I have quite frequently that I'm not motivated anymore. Oh, I'm so motivated today. New Monday, really motivated. The amount of motivation messages today alone that I have gotten is a lot. And then also as people, like you have prepped, how many times have you prepped? 4, 3, 2?
I've prepped twice, but for like 8 shows.
Yeah. So you've had a very successful 2 preps. I've prepped twice as well. I'm in my 3rd. So we've had to really push ourselves beyond motivation and doing things beyond the point where we actually want to be doing it. Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of lessons in that potentially people could hopefully take away from that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what would you say, first of all, is something that you, prior to competing, prior to your comp journey and all of that sort of stuff, that you found was one thing that you would always procrastinate?
I think for me, it was always just like having meals organized, actually spending the time to cook all of my food and have that ready for the week. It was just not something that I was used to doing prior to going into a prep. And I had in my mind that I had to do that in order to successfully like go through a comp prep for the week. I think I have a slightly different outlook on that now. We can talk more about that, just like different circumstances and everything. But yeah, that was one thing. And then I realized when I started to do that, how much easier everything became in my life. But it was just one of those things where you sit there and you're like, the last thing I want to do on my Sunday is when I could be watching Netflix, like get up and spend a couple of hours cooking. Like for what? Like it's not enjoyable. But I was constantly in that cycle of telling myself it was going to be shit. And then I started doing it and I was like,
it's not that bad.
I actually enjoy doing this. Like it's fun cooking.
Yeah.
I like to take photos of my food, like just those little things. And then it just became something that was so much easier.
Yeah. And I think with that as well, like it's when you're very new to meal prepping and planning your food and all that, you think it's all of these like elaborate 35 different million ingredient recipes that it's like, it's actually not. And if people actually, I reckon if most people saw what I meal prep for myself, would not eat it because it is literally like frozen broccoli, mince, an egg.
She's basic
rice.
gal.
Like it's like it's so easy, but it's what works for me. And I'm just like same. That was one thing I would always procrastinate. But I think for me, it was more so investing the time and the money into learning. So I was always told myself that there wasn't a problem and that I was fine and that I didn't need help and I was doing it myself. So it wasn't even so much the food. It was the whole thing. Like I was procrastinating just starting because I was waiting for that perfect time or that right moment and it didn't happen.
You and everyone else, sis. I feel like I hear that all the time. Just don't know if I should start yet because I'm going to Europe in June and it's like perfect time to start. It's right now.
Yeah, and honestly, and the amount of like inquiries in 2025 alone that I have received where it's like, I'm going on a holiday to Europe, so I'm going to wait till after Europe. And I'm like, but I don't understand it. I don't understand it, but it's just like, it's such a common thing that so many people have, and procrastination literally delays so much in life.
Yeah. I think some of the best outcomes that I've literally seen from people is when they've started doing a thing in less than ideal circumstances because they've had to learn how to overcome like different situations and still work toward whatever the thing is that they're working toward. And it's like, it's obviously harder for them, but they're able to overcome that in those situations versus people that start when things are perfect and there's like no other external things happening in their life.
Which is never like, it's such a
that's not
rare
really
time that that's going to happen. Like life keeps happening. Like, and I think a conversation that I do have quite frequently as well is that perfect time actually isn't a thing. Like waiting for that perfect moment, waiting for that perfect time, waiting for life to be aligned. It's like once something feels aligned, the next thing comes and the next thing hits you and the next thing just comes.
Yeah.
It's like waiting is literally, you're never going to achieve anything.
Yeah.
And it's like almost like a fear. Like people, I feel like, are scared.
They're so scared.
To start. So then they just create every excuse under the sun.
Because it's always going to be hard starting a new thing. Like if we're talking about it in the context of our coaching and working with a lot of people that are on transformation journeys and they want to lose weight or build muscle, they just look at it as something that is so far out of their reach. Like they look at these people that have been doing it for years, and rightly so, those people have been doing it for years, so they've been able to achieve this result because they've had the patience, but they just made a decision to also to start one day. And so many people just look at, I actually shared a quote on my Instagram story this morning, and it is so relevant to literally what we're saying right now. And it is, everyone wants the view, but no one wants the climb.
Yeah. That gives me like Hannah Montana, like Hannah Montana movie, like it's a climb.
Yes. But it's so true, right? Because like everyone, like they want to get themselves into a position where they're feeling amazing and they're feeling confident and they're living this amazing lifestyle, but they are too afraid to start because they're worried about the climb that it's going to take them to get there.
Literally. And it's just like, even for myself, when I have been able to successfully lose over 50 kilos, it's like, once upon a time, I was the queen of procrastination. I was the queen of not knowing what to do, what the next step was. I was thinking about 6-7 years ago. It was actually almost, I keep saying like shortening it. It was like 10 years ago I started.
Yeah.
Because what are we now? 2025. I started in 2015.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, I was worried about what my life would be like 10 years down the track. I wasn't worried about what my life would be like in 24, 48 hours.
Yeah.
And I think really simplifying the process to week by week or day by day really was a big savior for me in terms of actually being able to start achieving something and to stop getting overwhelmed by 10 years down the track, because you don't know. Like, I didn't think I was going to be married by now. Like, I honestly thought I was going to be fucking single forever. Like, honestly, like, worrying about something so far away, like even for me now to worry about what my life will look like in 10 years, I'm just like, how am I actually going to be by the end of this week?
You're just going to be constantly spiraling if you're so worried. I mean, it's what, we've obviously got to be considerate of our future, because I think part of what we do is us taking care of our future selves that are 10 to 20 years down the track. But equally, if you're constantly focused on that and you're not focusing on the day-to-day things that you're doing that are going to benefit you in that 10 to 20 years, if you're not finding a love to enjoy that process, then it's inevitably going to fail you, because you're just going to be looking at it as something that is a chore that you don't want to be doing, that you feel like you have to be doing in order to get somewhere, which that's just the truth of it. You have to be doing these things if you want to get somewhere. Like, I've been in a massive rut lately. Like, we were talking about this. I posted a video on my Instagram the other day because I've just been like, I've almost had like a slight bit of like identity crisis, not competing this year, not really knowing what I'm doing. Sort of fell out of love with all the training that I was doing. I hadn't done any kind of like cooking or meal prep. I fell into like an Uber Eats spiral for a little bit. And I realized the other day, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm sitting here preaching to all these people that these are the things that are going to help you feel good, not only physically, but mentally. But for me, it was such a mental thing that I was stuck in, because I didn't really care about physically what was going on. I know that I look okay. Like, it's not a thing where I need to lose weight or anything like that. It was just such a mental battle for me to, I don't know, get out of this little rut that I fell into of just like poor eating habits, not doing those daily things like getting outside for a walk or prioritizing those things that make me feel good. And then mentally I was really starting to spiral. So I was like, I just feel so shit right now. Like, what am I going to do about this?
Yeah. And it's literally just, it even just takes that one moment to identify it.
Yeah.
And I think you're now, however many years into training that you are, it's like you're able to identify it. Whereas if you're earlier and newer to the thing, it may take longer.
Way longer.
But I think having the self-respect enough to identify that firsthand, the relationship that you're having with yourself right now isn't ideal, and that's where the change starts. I think that's a really powerful cycle to find yourself in, because it can actually just break you free. And it's like, you've identified the problem, you're literally left with no other option now but to fix the problem.
Yeah, and find a way out of it.
Like,
and I think a big thing for me, like realizing where I was at, was you start to notice like the impact that almost has on just other areas of your life. Like, you know, don't get me wrong, like work's been going really well, but then like friendships, like I was finding myself just feeling really anxious in, you know, organizing to like meet up with a friend, or like replying to a message about just like the simplest of things. And I was like, I'm not like this. Like, what is going on?
Yeah. And it's funny as well, because procrastination in one area always bleeds into everything else.
Yeah.
You procrastinate doing a gym workout. Then you're going to procrastinate cleaning your dishes. You're going to procrastinate cleaning your kitchen. So then that cycle leads to, you're going to wake up in the morning feeling anxious because your house is a mess.
Yeah.
Then that anxiety is then going to cause you to not train again. So that whole cycle just continues. Obviously, there's more and more things on top of that one like initial domino that falls that will continue to lead you to be anxious for the rest of the day. But it's when does that cycle break? That cycle breaks once you identify the issue. And once you identify the issue, you actually have no choice but to be better.
Yeah. And then you can start to set your plan in place. Like, what am I actually going to do to start moving out of this? Like for me, I got to a point where I was feeling so overwhelmed by just my house being super untidy that I was like, everything else needs to wait today. I'm going to dedicate a couple of hours and I'm going to clean the shit out of my house. And that's what I did. And I felt amazing after it. And that led to me then the next morning actually being excited to wake up in my home and to go down and make breakfast and to sit on the couch and just enjoy the space, because I'd spent the time to set that up for me the day before, right? And now ever since, it's been important to me to be like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I'm keeping this tidy. I'm going to clean up the dishes as soon as they're finished. Like, and that all just has that effect into the rest of the week now.
Yeah.
Right?
That's literally the same. My one thing is I really struggle if I go to bed and my sink has dirty dishes in it. Like, there may be one or two glasses. Like, if we have like a hot chocolate at night or something like that, that will stay because the dishwasher's already on. But like, I'm talking like, I'll like deep clean my kitchen most nights because I cannot go to sleep properly, or I cannot wake up in a good mood if I wake up and there's mess.
Yeah.
We work at home as well, so I feel like that might be a little bit different. I feel like as well, if someone's got, like my niece loves to keep her toys everywhere. I feel like after a while when I've got kids, I'm just gonna be like, fuck it, their toys just live wherever they want. So it may be a different situation, but certain areas of your home I feel like are so easy to maintain, like the kitchen, like the bathroom, like your own bedroom. Like if you've got kids and you're listening to this and your kids like to throw their shit everywhere, like their toys, that's different.
Yeah.
But I'm like, there's just certain things that I know that I need to do that are going to be such a small domino that then lead me to actually being more productive and not procrastinating the things that I need to get done.
Yeah.
I'm in prep now. I can't procrastinate. There's things that I have to do, and no matter how I feel, no matter what is going on in my world, these things need to happen.
Yeah. And what's crazy for me is when I was like reflecting the other day and realizing the rut that I was in, I was thinking back to when I prep. And like when I'm in prep, I am like 110% routine. There is nothing left out of place. Like there is nothing that I will miss. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm so regimented when I'm in prep. And it's funny because even despite having like super low energy and feeling just like absolute arse, those things will never ever flop.
They'll get done.
They will never flop. It will always happen. But I think, you know, in hindsight, it's like, yeah, okay, maybe my calories were low and I wasn't really like that high of energy, but everything just ran smoothly because I showed up every single day, rinsing and repeating, doing the same routine. And then now I'm not doing that. It's like, why aren't I doing that? It's because I'm not in prep. I should still be doing those things. And I know that. And it was just a thing for me where I was probably finding excuses for myself, being like, I prepped 2 years in a row. I just need that break.
I need a break now.
I need a break.
I just don't. Break. Let's move on.
You
now.
know,
Come
and
on,
I'll
sis.
stand by that. Like as far as I haven't like had a full day of really tracking calories since my last show, right? Like it's been like 4 months, and that for me has been amazing because it's allowed me to be intuitive with my eating, listening to my body, and all of those things. But ditching all of those other habits that were so important to me in prep, had I maintained doing those things now, I wouldn't have dipped into this rut. I wouldn't have fallen into that, and I'd probably be in such a better place, right? So I think people really underestimate just like finding a process to enjoy and then sticking by that.
Yeah. And I think that's as well. It's like, then that can lead you into that like 0 to 100, I'll start Monday, everything mindset kind of thing. It's like that in itself, I can't even explain how, I don't want to say toxic,
It's frustrating.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's, I want to say damaging. I don't want to say toxic because it's not, but damaging long term that is, because, okay, you wake up Monday morning, you know your deficit starts today. You go 100% in on that Monday. That is going to last you 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks at max, because shit will get hard, shit will get uncomfortable. You will start to miss your old lifestyle. You'll start to miss your old habits. So when I have a client starting a deficit, I never get them to go 100% in on day one.
Yeah.
And they always think it's going to be harder than how it is. The way my clients are losing over 1 kilo a week or are losing 6 kilos in 6 weeks is not by going 100% in on day one. It's changing 1 or 2 habits and adding that. Once they nail those 2 habits, adding to those habits every single week, changing one more thing, adding in one more thing.
Yeah.
And I think having that all or nothing mindset really cockblocks a lot of people from actually the full amount of potential that they can achieve towards their goal.
Absolutely.
It's so interesting, because I'm like, as well, like, I feel like our generation of women as well, we grew up in this whole like era of like less is better, and that whole Kayla Itsines trend on the this on TikTok at the moment. I know we're definitely both on that side of TikTok where it's both, like, she's very much, people are really coming out now being like the damage of that, the damage of what that 100% all or nothing mindset did to them, and how 6 years on, I think her first ever thing came out in like, I think it was like 2013.
Yeah.
Like it was ages ago.
Ages ago.
That's over 10 years ago, and how people now are only just starting to heal from that damage.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you were aware of that and aware that all or nothing can cause that, why are you going to do that now?
Yeah.
It's 2025. We
And
don't
it's just
need to
setting
be doing
yourself
that.
up for failure. Like, it truly is. And I take the same approach. Like, I would never expect 100% out of someone when they're first starting to do something. And I think that's why so many people fear starting, because they think they have to go in and just send it and stop doing all of these things. And really it's about, okay, let's just move a little bit more and let's get a little bit more organized with our eating for the week. And then suddenly week 2 comes around and they're like, oh my God, I feel amazing. Like, oh my God, like my clothes are fitting better already, because they just like dropped a bit of water weight. Yeah. You know, but it's just like those little habits that are going to pay dividends to them moving forward.
And making the process fun.
Yeah.
I have a client, we're just going into week 2 today, and I actually just happened to look at her progress yesterday because I was writing her new meal plan. She's down 2 kilos in 1 week.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
She still had a meal out with her partner, who is a FIFO worker. He came home on the weekend, and she still had a low weigh-in on Sunday because she ate out on Saturday.
Yeah.
1 week together of her just being aware of different habits that needed to be implemented, making small changes that needed to be implemented, not changing her lifestyle drastically, but just aligning things better to be able to progress in the way that she wants to and become unstuck.
Yeah.
Yes, that has now fueled motivation for this week, but I am so set on continuously educating her, continuously showing her that it's not just about getting that result. That result is a reflection of the work that she did do, but it is about now building on the habits that is going to build her new lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I always say this to my clients whenever they inquire with me. It's like, are you wanting to work towards a specific date or event, or are you wanting a full lifestyle change?
Yeah.
And honestly, I want to say like 9 out of 10 are in it for the lifestyle change. And I think to me that is proof to me that that client is really ready to like change, and they're aware of the cycle, and it fuels me so much more to be able to help them.
But yeah, because you can be completely in understanding with each other of where you're at. Like, you're meeting the client with where they're at and understanding that, okay, they're getting married on X date, so we're going to send it until then, or they want a lifestyle change. That's how I'm going to be able to coach them through
100%.
that. And I think like something that can be frustrating sometimes is when the goalposts are constantly shifting from the client's end, where maybe they want the lifestyle change, but then all of a sudden they have something coming up in 10 weeks and they want to start to be able to send it until that point, right? And then like you don't know what the best approach is to be able to coach them through that, because they're constantly swapping and changing. So I feel like being really realistic with the goal and the expectation that someone is setting upon themselves is like the most important part of starting something. Like, I was having this conversation the other day, because coaching lifestyle clients and coaching comp prep clients, it is so contrast. Like, you know, I'll have a comp prep client who's got a full periodized plan for 25 weeks from starting point until they step on stage, and, you know, to the gram, you're working out what their weight is going to be. And every single week across like an 18-week period so far, for example, one of my clients is weighing in to the gram of where she was planned to be at this exact point in time, right? Versus a lifestyle client who wants to take a lifestyle approach to losing weight, incorporate balance and whatever, but then at the same time they will do a check-in having absolute meltdown because they're focusing so much on their scale weight, which hasn't shifted, but then equally they've been to like 4 different social events over the past 2 weeks, drinking, doing whatever, eating the new pistachio Krispy Kreme donuts, like those things. Yep. And it's been a really wild thing for me to experience starting comp prep coaching and just seeing that difference between the two, because it's like you can achieve that weight loss goal that you want to achieve in X amount of time if you would actually just stick to the plan and follow the process and enjoy the process and show up every day. But instead you want to be more flexible with it, which is fine.
But it's you need to be realistic with yourself and what your expectations of the results are. I have this conversation all the time. I think that's my most frustrating
thing that I'm experiencing at the moment in this job.
It makes me sad because I literally had this, I spoke about this in my past episode as well, and I'm like, it literally makes me so sad because I want my clients to still be living their life. Yeah. I coach quite a few mums now, and I'm starting to really get more and more women with younger children, which I love because I love the generational effect that I can have on these families' lives. All of the women I coach, besides one, have daughters. And I know that the habits that I teach them potentially could be the change that impact the next generation.
That is so true. I once had a client and she was like, she never really cooked or anything before. And mind you, I'm not giving her like these super hard recipes. No. It's just like basic recipes. And she was like, I can't wait to just be able to cook these for my family and for the girls as they continue to get older because I never had that before. And I was like,
it's literally one of my favorite things. And I get so excited now when I have a mum inquire with me because I'm like, almost it's what I needed. I want to create. I'm like, look, I love my mum. My mum is probably my best friend, but I feel like as well, it is our generation onwards is going to be the ones that have that education around, we don't need to fast, we don't need to do keto, we don't need to go on shake diets, we don't need to do all of these things. We just need to learn to eat. Yeah. And having that effect on these future generations to me is the most empowering thing as a coach that I can experience. But I think seeing and coaching women who have families and their priorities are different to my own is something that I think I'm quite good at separating. However, it's the other way around where they then start to compare that I've lost 1 kilo in a week.
Yeah.
But what have I sacrificed to get there?
Yeah.
I didn't go out on the weekend. You and Alex invited me out. Guys, PSA, Amy and I both have a partner named Alex. So just like, we're not talking about the same person here. So you and Alex invited me and Alex out on the weekend. We turned that down. I didn't go to my sister's place for dinner. We turned that down. I was at home most of the weekend. We didn't really do much. Whereas a client had a birthday, had an event, wanted to go out with their kids for a meal, whatever it is, the priorities are so different. So it's like just being understanding and being realistic with your expectations of a result.
Yeah.
It brings so much power back to you.
Absolutely. And if you show up and you do the thing that you said you were going to do and you're just staying in your own lane and not worrying about what anyone else is doing outside of that, before you know it, it's going to be 4 to 6 months down the track and you're going to be feeling fucking amazing and you're going to be like, oh, what did that person do? Like you're not even worrying about them or their journey because you've been so invested in your own.
And it was where I was going with that past story was that client who has the kids, has the weekend out, still lost 500 grams in whatever week it was. Yeah. But because I had lost 1 kilo, she was telling me she was upset with herself and she was disappointed. I'm like, but it's just understanding that the goal is different, the expectations are different, the commitment is different, and that is okay.
Yeah.
But I think really being understanding that if you want to have that flexible lifestyle approach, that sustainable weight loss approach, it is okay to be losing at a little bit of a slower rate in order to be able to still enjoy your life.
There's no right or wrong way, right? Like, and so like at the moment, I've got girls that are in the final week of an 8-week challenge that I've been running. So this is a conversation that I've been having frequently is if the girls compete, like comparing themselves to other girls. And if I posted like a progress shot of one of the girls in the challenge and then they're like, oh my God,
I didn't do that.
I haven't made that progress. And I'm just like, dude, like you've not even been doing this challenge. Like you have to be realistic, right? Yeah. Like it is so evident, and you will have seen the same, right? When you have girls that are working within the same period of time and you can see who is actually sending it and like hitting goals. versus the people that aren't. You know, we see the data, we see what they're logging, you see
We
who's
see the
showing
check-in.
up and who's
Did you
not.
do your check-in?
It's like you haven't done a check-in, or you've only done 2 check-ins out of the 8 weeks, you know, and I've seen you on Instagram posting cocktails on the weekends, you know, so why are you sitting there getting upset about this girl who has absolutely dedicated everything that she has to an 8-week period to challenge herself and to get uncomfortable, and she's going to achieve fucking amazing results, and you should just be clapping for her instead of sitting there wondering why you're not getting the same. Like, so yeah, I feel like my main message at the moment is just you need to meet yourself where you're at and be really realistic with the expectations that you're going to set on yourself. Like, you've just got to start somewhere, right? And you can't be comparing that to everyone else.
Yeah. I don't know if you listened to my last episode where I was saying I had to mute everyone. I was in that.
You even muted me.
Yeah, guys. Like,
She's
when
like,
I say
Amy,
I muted
I'm so
everyone,
sorry.
I muted everyone. Like, I see Amy, I reckon we speak almost every day. I reckon we see each other most days at the gym. We catch up quite frequently. I'm like, I muted everyone.
You're like, including you. And I was like,
sorry, I still go and check. I check your
I
stories,
do?
everyone. Okay.
You still watch it anyway.
But like, I had to watch things and I had to consume things on my terms. And I think the same when it comes to achieving a goal, or the same comes to what phase of life you're at. A really big thing for me was I've been married for 2 years. My husband is 30. I just turned 28. People my age own a home. People my age have kids. People my age, I feel like, have their life fully figured out. I don't have that. And I think even for me, beyond just business, beyond just fitness, beyond just aesthetics, it was coming down to everything else. And I think, like you said, meeting myself where I'm at. I've traveled a lot.
Yeah.
I've traveled more than probably most people my age. And I'm so grateful for that. And I would take that. And we have decided as a couple to take travel over owning a home.
Yeah.
We value that. That is our value. So I now have taken back the power from people buying a home. I can celebrate them. I can be so happy for them. I can absolutely love that for them. But that is just not what we want to be doing right now. And I think exactly the same thing, like with when you said you were in a rut. You caught yourself where you're at. You could take back the power of that. And I think just that one small action of being like, that is okay for them to be doing that. But that's actually not what I value.
I think it's a really interesting age. Like, I was actually reading something on Instagram yesterday, and it was talking about like when you're in your 20s and just how wild it is, because there are people in their 20s that are doing all of these like crazily different things.
It's so
like
different.
Buying a house, getting married, have a kid. Maybe they have 3 kids already, you know, or maybe they have just bought a business. Like, it's a really interesting time. And I'm glad that I'm exiting my 20s this year, because I feel like,
I feel like 20s is just such a strange, like you said, sorry, I burped. Oh my God. I need to stop burping when I'm recording episodes. But your 20s are just such an interesting phase because, like you said, people have a kid. People have moved overseas that I know. People are buying a home. Like, there was a period of time where so I'm one of 3 girls. All 3 of us were in our 20s at the same time. My elder sister had a kid and owned a home. My middle sister owned a home, married. I was single overseas by myself for like 12 months in America doing my own thing. Like, all 3 of us were at such different phases of life. And I'm like, 20s are weird. That's a complete tangent that we just went on. But 20s is such a weird phase of life. But so what would be, if you had to give someone some tips to just kind of breaking that all or nothing mindset, breaking that like I'll start on Monday mindset, if you had to give a client like some advice on how to shift that mindset, what would you kind of say to them? Would it be more like creating steps, or would it be more like just following a plan or implementing smaller things?
I had to have this conversation the other day with someone because she was involved in my 8-week challenge, but she totally went MIA on it. And she, I think, had that moment of acknowledging where she was at, realizing that she'd just sort of ghosted the challenge and she didn't know where to start. And my advice to her, and my advice always to people, is just you need to be realistic about what you're going to do to get started into doing something, whatever that is, whether that's like fitness related, whether it's a job, a career that you're working towards, and, you know, just like setting really realistic steps and goals. So not like, you know, there's no point in you sitting there saying, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days this week, when you know damn well that you're not going to do that. Like, you know that you're not going to do that. So, you know, set yourself a plan. Is it 2 days that you're going to commit to the gym this week? 2 days is better than no days, you know, and then building that up. And, you know, maybe instead of worrying about a step target, if that's something that's going to stress you out, just prioritize getting out for a walk every day, or, you know, even if that's 15 minutes around the block on your lunch break, if you work in a corporate office, right? Just really setting those little things in place, because when you can set a realistic target like that or a realistic goal like that for you to work towards, and then you can actually tick that off and say that you did it, that's going to be very empowering for you. It's going to feel really good that you've done what you said you were going to do. And then keep that consistent for another week. And then when you can show up again for another week doing the same thing, okay, can we tack on another gym day the following week after that? Can we start to implement more of a step target, right? Because those goals are going to accumulate and add up. And then eventually you're not going to be feeling shitty anymore. You're actually going to notice the benefit that that has to not only your physical and how you're feeling day to day, but mentally, like your cognitive function and all of that kind of stuff is going to benefit from you showing up, moving more, doing a little bit of something each day that's going to benefit you. And then all of a sudden you're going to be 4 weeks in, and you're not going to want to go back to what you were doing before. You're going to want to do more of that, right?
Gonna wanna.
So that's like my biggest thing. And that's like what I'm trying to do for myself at the moment. You know, when I had my realization last week, I was like, all right, what am I going to do? I'm going to start by, you know, prioritizing my morning routine again and getting up and having my pre-workout meal, like having my pre-workout drink that I like drinking. I like to sit at the kitchen bench and scroll on TikTok while I do that, right? Like that's just a 5-minute part of my morning, but I enjoy that, right? And then I can go to the gym. I'm going to go for 3 river walks this week. And I did those things. So now I'm like, cool, I feel really good going into this week to be able to repeat last week. I'm not striving for the stars this week. I'm not going to do a heap more than that, but I'm going to be able to match that and know coming the end of the week, I'll be feeling so much better for it.
Yeah. Circling back to one thing you said about creating like a list and ticking off a goal. I think it was a Mel Robbins podcast, because she's probably one of the only podcasters I listen to religiously. She actually was talking about, there was like an actual proven psychological benefit to ticking something, to physically writing out a list and ticking it, whether it's like a list on your phone or you've handwritten something, but actually checking something off and having something physical to check off actually releases like serotonin in your brain to then want to make you repeat that and chase that feeling. That's literally like, I think I showed you a list that I made, like it was like 1 a.m. on Friday night or Thursday night or whatever it was. I was having this like almost like panic that I had so many things the next day to complete. So I brain dumped everything that I needed to do, like from the smallest things like my steps to meal prepping to buying something online to checking out a cart that I needed to order, all of these small things, but the actual joy and the serotonin that I was feeling from ticking things off on that list literally made me so much more productive in a day.
Because look, I can't speak for anyone else, but I find that when I write a list for myself, I'll often include things in the list that are not actually that important for me to be doing.
I do the same thing.
But
3 liters of water, it's always on every list.
But then I end up doing it anyway. And then I'm like, slay. Like I did it. You know,
like I would even put things on the list like my non-negotiables that I know for a fact I will cheat. Do you know some days I even put things as simple as like feed my dog? My dog needs to be fed. My dog gets fed twice a day, every single day for her whole entire life. But I find if I'm finding that I am getting caught up in this stress bubble of like, oh my God, there's so much to do, I don't know how I'm going to do everything, I start putting tasks on my list that I know are going to get done, because once I start seeing those things get ticked off, it fuels me to continuously be productive throughout my day. And I think I don't even know if there is any like, I'm sure there is reasoning behind it and why that works and things like that, but I think just really gaslighting myself almost to feel like I'm this super productive queen by feeding my dog, but I'm just like, it works. It literally works.
And honestly, because you know what you're almost doing when you do that as well? It's like you're romanticizing that process.
Oh, I'm the queen of romanticizing everything.
I'm loving that at the moment. Like just the smallest little things, like putting on my stupid looking bow headband thing, like put my skincare on in the morning and just like really like getting in there, like just being present in what you're doing, I feel like is so underrated. And people can sit here and think we're cuckoo for the shit that we're saying and like it's so minutiae, but it isn't minutiae because it all is going to have that positive effect in your day-to-day of what you're doing. Like even going back to the list, like time blocking things. Like I've started using a calendar way more this year, like way more. I'm still not probably 100% at using it, but better than what I was. And just having that there, and even just having like events that are coming up. I've always been really bad at just like having a long-term plan or calendar, right? And I've started doing that, and I'm like, oh, slay, like I'm going to here in the middle of May, and then and it's just, I don't know, it just helps relieve my stress so much.
Because you know what you're doing? It's literally like like coming for us, like when you're in prep, you know what the plan is. So there's no anxiety around what's coming. You know what's coming.
Yeah.
You know when things are going to be happening. You know when your show date is. And it's literally the same in life. You know what's coming. You know when you need to be somewhere. You know what like events are happening. And I think it just pretty much brings back that power to you.
Yeah.
And like I keep saying that in this episode, but it's literally just like meeting yourself where you're at, reclaiming your own life, romanticizing your own life. I literally will put on like there's these like different like playlists on YouTube and stuff like that I always have on in the background of my house. I am a sucker for watching a YouTube vlog, and I will watch someone clean their house with their beautiful like jazz cafe music in the background and I'm like, I do that for myself.
Yeah.
I literally pretend that I am a Kardashian with a fucking film camera running around after me, cleaning my house or doing something in the morning, and it literally makes my life fun.
Yeah.
And I think it's, like you said, it sounds so crazy, but I'm like, if I'm watching other people do it, I'm doing it myself, and I'm going to enjoy the boring repetitiveness of my life.
Yeah.
But then it also makes me really enjoy the boring repetitiveness of my life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think I want to even start training in the gym to that music.
Oh my god.
Could you imagine? I feel like as well, this is such a tangent. Like, imagine training to that gym, having like that jazz, like cafe music, and then like you're having the most intense leg session. And then it's like TikToks where they come up to you and they're like, what music are you listening to? And you have to lie.
And you're just like playing that music.
Jazz music, cafe jazz music.
I feel like sounds and stuff like that can really have impact. Like we at home listen to this same sound to go to sleep every night. Like I'm telling you right now, like we cannot sleep without this shit playing in our ears. I'm going to play it for the pod because it's just like you will not see me in the bed without this playing.
Is it just rain?
I'm trying to play it.
Rain noise. I have it as well.
Every night.
I love it.
And then even in the morning when I wake up, like I don't even turn it off straight away. If I'm like on my phone, I'll be laying there and that's still playing in the background and I'm like,
Yeah. There was I do that as well, especially if I'm like unable to fall asleep. I'll play like a rain playlist on Spotify. And there was one year in my Spotify Wrapped that was like the top like my top artist was like rain noise or something, and I'm like, oh, that's really embarrassing.
I had like this guided meditation. It's like this older guy like just talks you through going to sleep, and I used to listen to it all the time before me and Alex were together. And then I tried listening to it once in bed, and he was like,
turn this shit off.
Like, why am I listening to this fucking guy? Like,
oh
putting
no.
me to sleep. But
I can't do the meditations, the guided ones. I like
it's
just
so
the white noise.
It makes you like lay there and be like, start by squeezing your toes.
Oh no,
and
that was
like that. And then it's like, now squeeze your whole body, and you're just laying in the bed like this, like just squeezing your glutes and your legs.
Nah, I can't do that. I wouldn't
So
be able to do
good.
that. I like the rain noise and I like the white noise.
You need to. I'm gonna send you that one, and you can try it because it's actually elite.
Nah, I can't.
Like it will fully send you to sleep.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
I'll try because I'm actually struggling to fall asleep at the moment.
Yeah.
Guys, I took my magnesium last night and my adrenal
Magnesium,
switch.
glycinate.
And adrenal switch, which I hate, but I took it anyway.
You don't like
It
it?
tastes disgusting.
No way. The chocolate flavor.
I put it in with real hot chocolate powder, like the jar of hot chocolate powder and a scoop of adrenal switch, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. It's so gross.
Oh my God, I haven't had that in ages. See, that was one of those things that for me in prep, non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Every single night, I was having that.
I just think
haven't
the
had
taste
adrenal
is so gross.
for months. Nah, it tastes good.
If Switch
I mean,
wants to
everything
sponsor me,
tastes
I'll
good in
accept the
prep.
sponsorship, but that is just gross.
Everything tastes good in prep.
Yeah, fair.
You'll get to a point where you'll want that every night.
Yeah, I'm going to get to a point where I start like phasing out just like the jar of hot chocolate and it's just that. But I'm like, I just need a bit of a transition period. I'll sacrifice a few grams of carbs at the moment for that hot chocolate powder.
Yeah.
Okay. We just went on a massive...
We digress.
We go back. So something that we are probably better at than other people, and I don't want this to come across in a we're better than you kind of way, but in prep, when you're tired, when you're too busy, when you have zero energy, you still have to show up and do the things, and you still have to show up and train, get your steps done, get your cardio done, whatever it is, you have to do it. What would be for a Gen Pop client, not a prep client, because personally I don't coach prep girls, what would be some advice that you have that would encourage someone to really assess if they are too tired or too busy, or just actually are being a little bit lazy and a little bit soft on themselves to actually be able to go forward and try and push themselves to achieve something?
I would literally just say those words to them. Like I mean, there's no sugarcoating it, right? And I feel like there was once a time when I started coaching that I would try to find a way to maybe say that a little bit more gently. But I find myself now just saying, like, I say this to you with love, and I'm saying this to you because, you know, you need to hear this right now. Like, you're constantly making excuses to yourself, you know. And I think, again, like, it depends on who the person is that I'm talking to, right? Because I also coach a lot of women that have little babies at home and stuff like that. So everyone's very different. But something I notice is, and this kind of digresses a little bit, I'll come back to the question in a sec, but like, you know, I'll have clients who have tiny babies at home. Like, they'll have like a 6-month-old baby. They've just been cleared to sort of go back to the gym and start training, and their partner starts work at 6 a.m. So like, these women are at the gym at 4:30 in the morning training.
You know, some of the
right?
mums I coach are some of the most committed and dedicated women.
100%.
Because they know that in order for them to show up and be a better mum, better partner, better person for themselves, they need to put in that little bit of extra, that little bit, like I'm talking, like you said, an hour earlier.
Yeah.
And extra energy into their day to be a better version of themselves.
But these are women that already are probably like fucking sleep deprived because they've got like a newborn baby at home, right? They're breastfeeding, they're doing all of these things, but they're still finding that time to show up because that's important to them. And I love seeing that, because I feel like as that just continues, it's going to be so good for like their kids to see that they're doing that and they're showing up, and it's just going to be this domino thing. But you know, you can't really sit there to someone who doesn't have children and use that as an example to say, oh, well, and I kind of don't like it when I see that online either.
I will
like
never compare it to clients.
Oh, but you know, I've got, you know, this person's got 2 kids under 2 years old and they're showing up every day getting it done. So why aren't you? Like, fuck no. Like, I hate that, because everyone is different. Everyone's, you know, mental health is different. Everyone's in different places, all of the rest of it. So like, I have a client in mind that I'm literally thinking about right now. And this was a conversation that we recently had. And if she listens to this, she's going to know that I'm talking about her. But it's about, like, constantly needing to revisit where you're at and why you why you decided to do what you're doing. Why did you start to work with a coach? Like, you need to come back to your why you've decided to do something. And then again, like, I sound like a broken freaking record on this podcast with saying this, but being realistic about where you're at. If you need to get back into your routine and find your love for something again, think about, why did you start doing it in the first place? What's actually important to you? Are you constantly just making fucking excuses, right? Every day or every week you'll do a check-in and say, oh, I was amazing from Monday to Friday, but then the weekend came around and I had my girlfriend's 30th, and then I had this and that and this. And that's okay. I can relate. I've had a very busy social period as of late as well. But if you also want to be, you know, trying to lose weight to hit a certain date at the moment for a clothes fitting that you've got, for example, you know what you need to do to get there. So what's more important? Is your goal that you set for yourself 8 weeks ago more important, or is getting drunk with your girlfriends more important? Either answer is okay, but understanding why you're choosing that answer and what you're actually going to go with, I think, is the biggest part of it all. Yeah.
And like you said, neither is right or wrong, and there's no right or wrong way to live your life. If you want to have a coach but still want to be doing all of these other external things that probably aren't going to be the best decision for you to achieve that goal, fine, because it means you're still having some form of accountability, some form of improvement in your life. And I think I can really support that, where I have girls who hire me just because they want a plan to follow.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily want to be working towards a specific goal. They still want to be going out and drinking every weekend. I have one client who I absolutely love. I've been working with her for 4 years now. She is my social gal.
Yeah, I got one of those.
She loves a social occasion. And she told me recently, if she listens to this, I'm probably going to tell her to listen to this episode. She told me that she's matured now. She doesn't have her busy month is only 2 weekends or 2 days out of the month. And I'm like, I love that, but like, it's okay to want to have that social element, but still have someone there to keep you accountable.
But I think that's amazing, because if you can, you know, be doing you and you're, you know, training however many days a week you're training, you're focusing on just like a balanced nutrition approach, and then you can still go out and have a great time with the girls, feel good, confident in yourself. That is goals. I feel like that's where everyone wants to be, but it's going to take a level of sacrifice to get there. Perhaps if you have a fat loss goal that you want to reach, that gets you to that point of feeling really body positive, confident, you know, all of the things, so that you can then shift into having that balanced approach, night out lifestyle.
Yeah. And I think, like we've said, it literally just always comes back to meeting yourself where you're at, understanding what you want, not what you think you should have or where you think you should be, and just working towards something that makes you happy.
Yeah.
And I think no matter where you're at in your journey, no matter where you're at in your life phase, your fat loss phase, whatever it is, as long as you are happy with your decisions, your actions, and whatever you do makes you feel good about yourself, then that's fine.
Yeah.
And I think no matter what coach, friend, partner, family member you have around you, as long as you are content and you're not hurting anyone in the process of this, then that is okay.
And also just being like, from the client's perspective, being able to just be honest with your coach about where you're at. Like, you know, Michael's my coach. He's, you know, still my coach, even though I'm not in prep or anything at the moment. Like, I still work with him. I shouldn't say this, but have I done a check-in? No, like I haven't done a check-in with him. I'm lucky enough to work alongside him in business. So we speak often. So he knows where I'm at anyway. But like, he actually said to me the other day, he's like, oh, like I was actually wondering, like, do you want a new training program? And I'm like, no, like at the moment, I'm just like really happy making my own programs, testing out my own things. And I was like, but you know, in the lead up to when I go to Europe, I want to get some more routine in place, right? And that's me already saying like, you know, when it comes to this time, this is when I'm going to commit myself back to doing something. And my coach being understanding and okay with that, right? Not pushing me to do something else, because I know there are some coaches out there like that, they're not that understanding.
It's one way and the only way. And I think...
Yeah. And they expect you to be 110% doing things all the time when perhaps it's just not where you're at in your life. So I feel like if you have a coach that's doing that, reevaluate if they're the coach for you, because your coach should be able to meet you where you're at, provide you with a plan that's going to support that and encourage you along the way regardless.
Yeah. And I think it's really amazing to have a coach that can compete or has competed. But I think, like we mentioned, we're pretty good at separating our own goals and our own competing aspirations and our own competing plans and processes and all of this stuff from our Gen Pop clients. Like you mentioned, you coach Gen Pop and prep. They are two different commitment levels, two different communication levels. It's completely different. And being able as a coach to understand that difference, and as a woman to be able to understand the difference in someone's goals, I think is a really important thing. So if you feel like you said, if you feel like your coach is potentially a prep coach and they're not understanding that you're not in that mindset and you're not wanting to achieve that goal, that is okay.
Yeah.
But like Amy said, like potentially just reassess.
Yeah.
You may want that. You may not want to be a prep athlete, but want to be treated that level. You may need that.
Let's go. I would love that.
Like you may need that. And I know like you may need that 100% commitment.
Yeah.
You may need that tough love, that strictness, that rigidness. You may need that in order to actually be able to get you to where you are and where you need to be for your health. Yeah. There are some people that need to be black and white. This is what we're doing. This is what we're not doing. And in order to be able to achieve some form of health result. Yeah. Fine. That is okay. We can do that. Yeah. But if you're a woman who is just wanting to achieve a better lifestyle, a better physique for yourself, you're wanting to feel better, you wanting to be more body confident, you're wanting to find more routine and better habits, but you're only being given X or Y, A or B, potentially that's not the right approach. And I think really being able to understand that is a really important thing.
Absolutely. Hear, sis.
Hear. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Should we cheers out off shreds? Cheers.
Did you even drink yours?
Yeah, it's finished.
Oh, I'm just been nursing mine the whole.
Oh, well, I think that's a pretty good spot to end the podcast.
I think so. It was a good
I feel like that was a really good chat. Like we said, if you've got a goal, reassess your actions every single day to make sure that what you are doing is aligning to your goal. Do you have anything final to say?
Just fall in love with the process and stop worrying so much about the outcome, because the outcome will be the outcome as long as you enjoy the process and you just get shit done. Yeah. And last thing, don't be afraid to mute people. But don't mute me, because I'm fun. Don't be afraid to mute people that trigger you. Don't mute me. Because I was being triggered by everyone, so I had to mute some of the closest people around me. So that is all we're going to say today. If you made it this far, make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast. Rate the podcast 5 stars. We also do have our event coming up in 2 weeks now. So if you haven't purchased your ticket, Amy won't be there, unfortunately, because she's got some other commitments. But we will have producer Alex there on behalf of Amy. So if you are wanting to grab your ticket, the link will be on our podcast page, and we will hopefully see you guys there. If not, thank you for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.